Oh, you're good to go.
Okay.
Do you want to see who's in the room?
Yeah,
I mean, you can see that on yours.
I don't have, because I'm full screen on the
Yeah.
shared screen, so I'm afraid to change anything.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
okay,
Now you can see.
okay, terrific.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. So I think everybody else will just be able to get in.
May I just go ahead and,
Yeah, you go right
Sure.
ahead.
okay. Good morning,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon, I'm sorry. Our speaker this afternoon is Laura Warnick, Senior Principal at HMFH Architects. Ms. Warnick leads HMFH's educational planning efforts with 35 years of experience at the firm, overseeing the design on a range of projects. She's extremely active in the national dialogue on architecture and education, and is a frequent speaker and contributor at local and national industry events on educational facility and school design, including the Boston Society of Architects, the Association for Learning Environments, and the American Institute of Architects. She is a former president of the Boston Society of Architects. In 2014, she was awarded the Boston Society of Architects Women in Design Award of Excellence. And in 2015, she was made a fellow of the AIA. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be here. Because many of you are online, and because I've got my screen is filled with my presentation, I'm not going to be able to see chat until the very end when I close down my screen. So if people have a question, please just call it out. Don't hesitate. I'm going to be talking, and I'd be glad for any breaks or interruptions. So if you have any questions, just let me know. So as Jeff said, I'm Laura Warnick. I'm the Senior Principal at HMFH Architects, and I've pretty much devoted my professional career to public school design, which is quite a remarkable thing. It's a wonderful market. We try and make places where children feel welcome and feel that learning is important. So it's been a total pleasure. Over the last 10, 15 years, we've been focused a lot on sustainability. Initially, it was how do we make more energy efficient buildings? And we've gotten pretty good at that. We're always getting better, I think. Our buildings have gotten, and our clients are now for the energy efficiency. Ability issues. And my presentation today is really how do we get more people engaged in what is so important to I think all of us here, I'm sure it is. How do we make the public more engaged and aware of all of the issues that go into having a sustainable environment? So we're trying to do that schools through our interactions with clients, through our interactions with our educators, to use our design projects as a way of educating and getting people excited about what sustainability means. So I believe very strongly that public schools can help in promoting sustainability within the larger question. So I'm going to be community. So I'm going to be talking about that. We use the process stimulus for community members and educators in thinking about sustainability. And I think while I'm geared on public schools, that's the world that I know. And I'm hoping that this presentation will get others thinking about the many ways that in whatever area of expertise you have, that you can get your clients and the community thinking and engaged in sustainability. It's,
Hello. Could I get a vegetable combination?
uh,
May I have the pollock paneer? And
Allison Nash, you need to mute yourself. We can hear you ordering.
that's what it is. I'm sorry, I didn't catch on to what was going on.
1 second.
Recording in progress.
Lauren, you're okay. She muted herself.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. And you're gonna have to mute yourself. Your- Okay, there, thank you. Thank you. And I think you also have to turn down your sound as well. Okay. So as I was saying, I'm hoping that maybe I can stimulate some thinking about how, as you're going through your design process, as you're going through working with your clients, with your users, that you also can think about how to spread knowledge about sustainability in your building and in the environment to your client and users. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about how we use our buildings to help students learn about sustainability, and talk a little bit about maybe different ways that we might be engaging students in the future in helping them think about how they can be creating a more sustainable future. Again, my area of expertise is K-12, but I hope this has applications well beyond K-12. So I'm going to be talking about several of our schools, but I just want to talk about public schools. Why are public schools such a great tool for engaging the community? Public schools are, when the community starts to think about a public school, it's going to be probably the most important, the most major investment by many of our communities. It's the most important investment that community can make, both in terms of size and in terms of dollars. So everyone is aware that this building is being built. Everyone cares. It's their tax dollars. It's their tax dollars at work. So they're all in, and that means that there's an opportunity for us to engage a broad audience. These are important civic centers. Even the communities involved in the design process or in thinking about the design process, they're going to be using these buildings for years to come. So the buildings will have a life, and the more we can build sustainability into our buildings, the more that creates awareness. In a sense, I want to say it's a privilege to be able to be involved with these projects, because you are doing something for the community. You're working with the community. It can be a very difficult process because you'll be getting, lots of questions. People, as I say, it's their tax dollars. They want to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So it's a responsibility as well. We're trying to create a community process that engages as many people as possible. The community knows what they need. We believe in getting that community engagement. So it's an important process, and we want to make it as broad and as meaningful as we possibly can. And simply just to make the right decisions. You need the clients, you need your community involved to make the right decisions. I'm going to talk a lot about one particular project because it was, I think, illustrates a lot of what we do in terms of both engaging community and engaging students and faculty in the design process and in the building and construction process sometimes, and in allowing them to then use this building as a tool for learning about sustainability. So this project is Bristol County Agricultural High School in Dighton, Mass. It's very near Taunton. It's a beautiful campus right on the Taunton River. It's a working farm. And it's been in existence for about 100 years. The students here, it's not only about agriculture. The students here are involved in career tech programs ranging from diesel mechanics to natural resource management to horticulture and arboriculture to large and small animal sciences. So they're involved in a wide range of career-focused pursuits that have some connection to or at some point had connection to agriculture. And at the same time, they're surrounded by cows and sheep and llamas, and by a working farm. Much of their food is from the farm. The students will help in operating the farm. They'll help in operating a street front market, but they're not doing a lot of day-to-day operations of the farm, except for the dairy. We'll talk about the dairy, about the cows. So it's a remarkable school. The students are quite remarkable in that they're highly motivated. They love what they do, and they love being out in the environment. The teachers are all about having the kids outside working, engaging in the environment to the greatest extent possible. So at Bristol Aggie, as we do with all of our schools, we really start with a visioning process. And what we used to do, traditionally what we've done, is really try and talk to the users, the community, the students, the faculty, the administrators, about how they would like to have learning take place. Our visioning sessions were very focused on what do you want your learning experience to be? How can we design a school that's going to support learning, to support student engagement? And that was what our visioning sessions tended to be about, tended to focus on. We would talk about how students learn, what they need to feel, how they need to feel safe and engaged in order to learn, how you need to have, most students need to have different types of inputs in order to really absorb and retain information. So we would talk a lot about learning and how their activities within the classroom can support that learning, just as you would with any initial client. But this was really focused on different ways that learning could take place and how that community wanted learning to take place in their community. In the last several years, we've started to expand that visioning to talk more and more about sustainability as part of the vision for the future. So as we're talking about learning, we're also talking about how is this building going to contribute and be part of a sustainable future for the community. And we try to talk as broadly as we can about what does sustainability mean. I think most people we're talking to now have a pretty good sense about energy use and trying to be energy efficient, but they've maybe not been thinking about water use or waste. They may not be thinking about sustainability as having to do with their greater community, that this school can play a role in making their community healthier, making their community more economically viable and sustainable. Schools, particularly large public high schools, can be an economic driver, not a driver, but an economic supporter, and a cultural support within their communities. They have theaters that come in, theater shows, performances that generate revenue. There are athletic events that generate revenue. We have a school that has various cultural events and book fairs for the community, art shows for the community. So these schools really are part of the community's public health, cultural health, and that's all part of sustainability as well. So we're really look to help the clients and the broader community think about that aspect, as well as the more traditional aspects of sustainability. Now we try hard. I'm doing more and more, bringing in ideas of how can this building help with social justice and equity. How can we design to make the school itself a more equitable, welcoming place? And how can we design the school so that the community becomes a more equitable place? So we're pushing those conversations as well as more traditional conversations about energy use. So we are talking about helping them establish goals for sustainability goals. These can be health and well-being goals. They can be the water goals. Many clients we come into contact have really never thought that much about water use and stormwater management and recharging the groundwater. So these are in many ways new concepts, and to raise them up and show the importance of these issues is, as I say, for many of them, a new experience. So we're trying to look at waste, at water, at energy use, and health as all part of creating a more sustainable school, creating a more sustainable community. And as that we're, trying to have discussions about what is nice and what is necessary, because as we all know, as we're going through design, developing buildings, working through our documents, there are often decisions that have to be made about what to save and what not to save. There cost cutting that needs to be done at various times. But if these things are discussed early on, and if they're seen as important, if they're prioritized, then the community is less likely to cut them out. So to articulate why, why the natural light is important, to articulate why the photovoltaics are important as part of their learning, as part of the students' future learning, and as part of the community's health, it starts to bring up in priority things that they may not have been considering as priorities previously. So we went through this exercise with the Bristol Agricultural High School students and community, and their sustainability goals were what's listed here. They were very focused on energy consumption and how do we reduce that as the highest priority. Because of the nature of the academics at the school, the nature of the teaching there, they were very interested in integrating the natural world with the built environment to the greatest extent possible. Their kids love being outdoors. When we talk to students, and we would go through little mini design charrettes with students, little visioning around different pieces of the campus. And they were always talking about, oh, can we have lots of wood? How do I make the connection to outdoors? How can we be outdoors more? How can we use materials? How can we use stone and wood and natural materials throughout the building? So you're always feeling connected to nature. It's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So the students had a lot of input into the way that the building was designed. And that was also a priority for the community and for the educators. Building in campus is a learning tool. How can we, through the design process, make as much about the building accessible to the students as a learning tool. They're right on the Taunton River. They were really concerned about their stormwater runoff, that should say reduce stormwater runoff, and about water consumption in general. So they wanted to reduce water usage and control their stormwater. Generally reduce waste. They're with the agricultural background, they're very cognizant of waste cycles and how can we optimize, minimize waste and optimize use of the waste that is generated. And then not last, this is not or least by any means, how do we support student health and well-being through the school building and through the campus. So we started doing a number of things that to try and achieve those types of goals. What you're seeing up on the screen now is the Student Commons building, which is a dining commons and a media center right in the heart of the campus. I guess I just have to tell you that for the last 2 years, almost all the kids ate lunch outdoors during COVID. They were eating lunch outdoors, fall, winter, spring, on picnic tables as a safety precaution, and that was great. They loved that. So we wanted to have connections, make those connections, maintain those connections to nature, and integrate those as possible, and institutionalize that connection of eating out of doors to the great extent possible. So what you're seeing on the left-hand side is the dining hall that has a big garage door that opens out to a seating area, which is part of the base of a outdoor amphitheater. And the kids are, during decent weather, the kids are in and out of there all day long. The wood is structured with mass timber, so it becomes a lesson in embodied carbon. It's one of 3 buildings. The project involved 6 buildings on the campus, 4 new buildings and 2 renovations. And of the 4 new buildings, 3 of them were wood, 2 of them were mass timber. 2 of the 3 were mass timber. So the building could become a learning tool to help students understand about the role carbon plays in the building side, in buildings. Reducing waste. This is something they took the lead on. They're very conscious of and cognizant of waste in their dining, and had recycling for all different materials lined up all over designed into the student dining, so that the waste products from the dining, that they had all hard plates and silverware. There's no recycling of dishes or utensils, no plastic utensils, and all food products go right out to the animals. So they're pretty efficient with their reuse of waste materials. Integrating nature, we tried to do that in a number of different ways. So on your left, you're seeing a dry bed that's right outside of their Center for Science and the Environment. That obviously works on their stormwater, reducing stormwater, recharging the groundwater. There are 2 different green roofs on the campus. One is a research area, intensive roof that's being used for research. This one that you see here is extensive in a highly visible area, so students are always walking by this green roof. But you're, again, the opportunity even to learn about different types of green roofs and how they can serve different types of purposes. the campus, that having these, not only is there this dry bed here, there's also bioswales throughout the campus. There's all of the plantings are drought resistant. We'll see later on that there's a underground cistern that's feeding, used for irrigating of any of the grasses in the central area, any of the plants in the central area. So there's very limited irrigation on the site. And I think we all know about the role that nature plays in promoting student health and wellness. It's a very strong connection between nature and concentration, reducing stress. So those are integral to thinking about student learning. If students are stressed, if they're I should say highly stressed and stressed over time, they have a much more difficult time learning. It becomes nearly impossible to learn. So whatever we can do to reduce stress, to provide a more calming influence is going to help promote their student health and their learning. We do a lot of graphics. Here, this is again within the Center for Science and Technology, which was really the building that they kind of were most interested in using as a learning tool. And we have graphics here just for reinforcing educational lessons. We have graphics here reinforcing the, information about the carbon cycle. And you'll see this one about composting toilets, because Bristol Aggie was the first public school, I think it's still the only public school in the state of Massachusetts to make use of composting toilets. There are 8 composting toilets within the Center for Science and the Environment, 4 on the 2nd floor and 4 on the 3rd floor, with a composter on the ground floor. So this becomes part of the students' learning to understand, oh, wait a minute, how is this working? So they're very proud of their composting toilets, and they talk a lot about how this is reducing water use. They expanded their student population by almost 50%, and their water use did not go up at all. It actually dropped slightly, appears to have dropped slightly. So even though there are more students, more conceived, you would assume more water being used, in large part because of the composting toilets and low flow fixtures throughout other parts of the building. Their water usage has actually per student has dropped significantly, which is pretty cool. It's been great for us to see how the composting toilets have been accepted and used, and it's not a big deal. They have to be emptied, I think, 2 or 3 times a year. They have the outside vendor who comes in. They're hoping eventually to get approval to use the compost on the fields, but that's still pending. There's also a natural resource management department has for many years run a natural history museum for the town of Dayton. And it used to be kind of in the lower level of an old farm building. It was quite musty and dank. And they were just assuming that was going to that they'd have to push that off in a corner someplace, or that it would be another, a location of a small room within the larger building. But in working through that with them, we were able to start to see this as part of circulation, that there's actually the main level of the Center for Science and Environment is a gallery space, is a Natural History Museum gallery space. And the students now, because their classrooms are right there, they're actually heavily engaged with curating the exhibits. So when the students are at a certain level, part of their classwork is doing research, coming up with ideas, and then installing exhibits for the Natural History Museum. So those kinds of things really excite the students. They get very engaged with that opportunity, that because everyone's going to in the school is going to see it. They're going to put something on display, and everyone else is going to see it. That display of your own work, of a student's work, is really an important part of student engagement and getting students excited about their classroom work. So this was a really wonderful way to do that, and they have a tremendous inventory of interesting stuff to bring out. So it's kind of I would love to be doing something like that. It's a very integral part of how their community is operating now. So this is the arboriculture lab, one of the arboriculture labs, which is a climbing lab, because if you're going to learn about trees and tree health and tree maintenance, then you need to be able to climb trees. And they have some great trees to climb on campus, but you can't do that year round. So they asked for a climbing lab, and we designed this structure to allow them to learn how to tie their knots and climb and belay off of trees. So this is, I think, the only indoor tree climbing lab in the Commonwealth as well. And you can see right outside the lab, there's another graphic talking about what happens inside of a tree. So here again, the building the design is a learning tool, and we're trying to make the whole campus a learning tool. And at the same time, through, in this case, landscaping, I think the physical activity is part of health and well-being, and the landscaping too is, again, a very important part of the student health and well-being. And then natural light. So the natural light is quite nice in this building, and being able to use the spaces for socializing is, although these kids are pretty busy, but having spaces where they can stop and talk and socialize, or do projects right outside of their classroom related to their classroom work in small groups is part of the design of the building. One last, I think this, got a couple more here. Another graphic. This is outside of the mechanical space. One of the new programs in the school that's just getting started is an environmental technology program where one aspect is building management systems. So they have you have the visual access to the mechanical room, and they also will have access to the building management system. And that is designed to be a small group classroom as well, so that they can actually learn how to operate a building management system, or what goes into a building management system. Health and wellness. Well, we also have to take care of the health and wellness of our cows. So at the school, we designed a good sized dairy barn for, I think, around 20 cows. And I didn't think that in my career as an architect, I'd be, thinking about cow manure and how to push cow manure around, how to milk cows, but that has been part of my education in this project. Here again, you can see the mass timber that's being used. This turned out to be a wonderfully appropriate and beautiful structural system to use. And I'm not sure if the cows appreciate it, but it does make for this great environment for humans to move through. This dairy barn is a net zero energy building. Will be a net zero energy. The photovoltaics have not been installed yet, but that will turn it into a net zero energy building. And it's got, you can see access to the outer doors. That's all screened and has thermal blankets that come down in the wintertime. And, you know, of course, the cows create a lot of their own heat. So you don't need a whole lot of heat when you're designing a dairy barn. I just have a question here. So this is from Esther, and she's asking how would they become learning tools for the student body and prepare the next generation for a more sustainable future? And we'll continue. I'll keep on talking about that. The buildings themselves are the teachers actually use the buildings, use the graphics, use the examples of wood structure. We just finished a manual for the teachers that kind of goes through all of the sustainable and operational aspects of the building that can then become, if they haven't already. I think many of the educators have been brought along and understand this. So there's a couple different aspects of it. One is the active teaching by the educators, making use of the components in their classrooms, whether it's horticulture, talking about we're planting drought resistant plants here, or the arboriculture, using the campus trees as part of their and the new landscaping. The students help us design the landscaping, and they will be continuing to expand the landscaping in their classes well into the future. So there are a lot of examples. So there's the active part, and then there's the more passive, I would say, passive part, which is for, as we're talking about, making the building the best building possible as a learning environment. So that's the natural light, the connections to nature, the appropriate artificial lights, all help make a more conducive learning environment. The vegetative roof, as I said, there are two vegetative roofs, one intensive, which is part of the natural resource management, and combined with the horticulture program to do research on soils and plants for green roofs. So that's outside of one of their natural resource management's classrooms. And then again, graphics to kind of explain the components of the vegetative roof. The extensive vegetative roof is more of a visual component of the design. The water conservation strategies are also made. Oops, sorry. Here. Give me a moment here. There we go. Okay, sorry. So these types of diagrams are in the building as well, that explain how the water conservation strategies are built into the design. This is looking at showing the location of the green roofs, showing how the stormwater management comes in, and how the in different ways the incoming water is managed, both through the dry swales, through bioswales, and through a underground irrigation cistern that irrigates the grasses and plants right at the center of the campus, so that there is some irrigation, but it's all through the rooftop catchment. And then the composting toilet systems. And that, again, it's not always, these things are now in people's faces and discussed and talked about in classes. So the water management is becoming a much bigger part of the conversation, both for students and for communities. And here they have an example of how they can do it sensitively. The students are, I mentioned a number of the things that the students are doing as part of their learning experiences. This is, I captured some images from their Twitter feed. So there's one here on the left is the students preparing to install benches. The area around them is a new landscaping that is part of our overall landscaping design, where a new pedestrian pathway was installed down in through the main buildings of the campus. But this portion of it was put aside for the students to do hardscaping in. So in this instance, they're preparing to put in benches. The Arbor students are transplanting 2 trees that will go into the landscape. And then you'll see down the bottom right is using a bioswale, and the students are learning about water management and water quality through a bioswale, using a bioswale as an example. So I'm going to shift here to a different project. I'm going to just quickly run through a few examples from other projects, and then hopefully we'll have some more questions. So this is a project that's under construction right along the Mass Pike here in Boston, not far from here, on the edge of Chinatown. It's the Josiah Quincy Middle High School. And if anytime you're going along the Mass Pike, east or west, or in this area, you'll see the steel going up now for this building. And this building, against many odds, has a green roof on it. This is a zero lot line building. There's no landscaping within the property. These are students from the city of Boston who don't have as much access to greenery as more suburban students. So to my mind, this is an equity issue. It's about a social justice issue. How do we know that nature has a positive impact on student learning, has a positive impact on student health? And we know that students in urban areas don't have that access. So being able to bring in, and many of the projects are, when you're designing in an urban area, you often have very little ground plane to work with. Particularly in a dense area, in a dense part of Boston. So we were able to get this was I think a huge triumph for the students. We designed a green roof. The green roof has 3 outdoor classrooms in it, kind of one for general assembly, a kind of larger one for general assembly, one as a classroom, and one is kind of more of a science working project area. It also has a meditation garden. It has a walking path around the green area. The head of school is incredibly excited about this. It was cut out of the project and at the last minute able to be put back in. So it was lost and then found, and the benefit to the students I think is just going to be so huge. In talking to the head of school, they were, first of all, they were being told that they weren't going to get any more money, no more money for irrigation. And he said, no problem, we will irrigate this ourselves. We'll take care, we'll make sure that these places get irrigated, because it's going to be important for our students' health. We will use that meditation garden for all the students, but particularly for some of our special needs students who need a chance to be taken aside and have a moment to quiet down. And there's been this notion of putting kids in these padded, secured areas, and hopefully this meditation garden will do away with those kinds of requirements. The walking path for, will be used by all the students, as again, it's a chance to get out when you're agitated, when something hasn't gone your way, the teacher can literally say, hey, go take a hike, and allow them to get outside and be with nature and walk and cool off and rethink a bit. So the educators are very certain that this green roof will be a important part of the students' learning, that it will help the students be more ready to learn, and make the building a more conducive place for learning, which I think is a pretty cool thing, and maybe not what people first think of when they think of first priority for green roofs, but for this community, that green roof is all about learning. This was somewhat true. This is Saugus High School. As in Josiah Quincy Upper School, the Saugus High School is right next to a major highway, right on Route 1. So we know that the particulates, the air pollution from highways is particularly aggravating for and dangerous for health. The green roofs can help offset some of that. They also, at Saugus, their intent is to use this as a for yoga and for meditation. The kids are actually doing yoga as part of their classwork and meditation, and this will be one of the places where they'll be doing that. They're very interested. This is not a research, it's not set up for active access, but having it visually apparent and visually accessible, they're believing will be a big benefit to their students, and will serve to promote student health. Saugus also has this in part of our conversations with the clients, and this is where client input is so critical and where you can make these kind of jumps. They were very concerned that their high school be a shelter, and during potential natural events, so that it needed, they wanted that resiliency. They wanted to have a place where everyone could go during any type of people could go during any type of natural event. And we worked with them around this around this ability to have a on-site tri-generation system, which consists of 3 on-site generators. And I'm not going to go into the explanation now, but it reduces, they run extremely efficiently, much more efficiently than a power plant. And they also reduce the distribution loss that occurs between a power plant and the school. And they use the excess heat generated from the cooling to create the power needs, help create support the power and electrical needs of the high school. So it reduces, it also reduces the quantity of heating and cooling equipment and the number of boilers, water heaters within the building. And that was all stimulated by these discussions with the larger community about their desire for resiliency. And now they have this very efficient system. And this was before the push for all electric. So already it's a little bit outdated, but at the time it was quite a jump in efficiency from other alternatives. This is Brookline. K through 8 school. And the community was very forceful in this connections to nature outside of the school. So there are a number of play learning areas right outside the classrooms that the kids have access to. And it includes different types of dry beds for stormwater runoff. Inside the classrooms, that connection is still strong too. Winthrop High School, a different kind of connection, again, but having this health and wellness connected to natural light, fresh air, and vegetation is an important part of the learning experience. The last school is the Annie Fales Elementary School in Westboro, which is a net zero all electric school. And this was, again, the community was had some very, very strong advocates, and they helped us, the community advocates we were able to connect to and helped bring this vision to fruition within the school. It's partially built into the ground, which helps a lot, but we also have geothermal and photovoltaic energy sources helping to make this succeed as a net zero and all electric building. But and again, this building is now a role model within the Westboro community for what can be done. And members of the community are very cognizant of, oh, our school is this exemplar. And so they're carrying the message out from their own experience. Last but not least, so the Annie Fales School has a mascot. Annie the Hedgehog is the mascot. And the educators in the school wanted to promote connections to nature, understanding of nature as part of their curriculum. And just to get back to Esther's question, what part of it I don't think I've responded to, is there's very strong evidence that the more you're teaching nature stewardship of nature to young kids, to students, the more likely they are to become stewards as they grow older. So if they're engaged, kids who are engaged with nature early tend to stay engaged with nature. So that's one of the ways that the buildings can keep on helping kids prepare for the future. This particular thing, which I think is just so wonderful, is that there are 3 different wings of the school, and they have each wing is themed, and their graphics to support the different themes. But in each of the graphics, there's Annie the Hedgehog is exploring that environment. So you can see on the left, Annie with her backpack going for a walk in the woods, and here you can see Annie snorkeling in the pond. And if you look closely, you can see turtles and the little worm on the end of a fishing line, water lilies. It's quite little duck feet paddling along, a beaver helping, starting to build his dam. So quite a rich and delightful imagery for students to get engaged with as they're learning about these environments. And 2 more here. Annie parachuting into a wildflower meadow. And you can see the bees and the butterflies and the ladybugs. And then actually Annie fishing on top of the pond where she'd been snorkeling before. So then this is the way those graphics are used within the school. So they're very large and active part of the learning environment. So I think these are just, that's a particularly, to my mind, sweet way of helping the kids, reinforcing with the students the importance of the world and the richness and variety of in the world around them. And hopefully these links that are made as when their students will stay with them as they grow and mature. And with that, there's not a whole lot of time left, but if people want to have questions. Okay, so Esther's asking. So how the photovoltaics are providing all the provide all of the electrical use power for the school. And the heating is because the geothermal is providing the heat source for the school. So that's how you get the net zero, plus the fact that you have a very efficient building, that you're built into the ground. So your heating and cooling tends to be lower because you're built heavily into the ground. So all of these things work together to reduce the energy needs and to provide fossil fuel free sources for the energy that you do have to use. So thank you all for listening in, and it's 1 o'clock, so I'll let you all go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was great, Laura. Thank you.
Thanks, Polly.
Thank you.
See you all. Thank you. Oh, okay, hold on a second. I just, you know what, let me get back. I think I have to get back into the let me see if I can do this. I don't know how to, it's not giving me the option of,
I'm gonna end, I can do that from here. Right here. We're done. Yes?
yeah, no, I don't know if you can stop recording, but
And
it'll stop,
maybe for all.
it'll stop